listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me, non-judgmental talk about infidelity with Dr. Marie Murphy. If you're looking for new perspectives on complicated relationship issues, you've come to the right place.
Days go by, they're crawling by.
Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Marie Murphy. I'm a non-judgmental infidelity coach. If you are engaging in anything you think counts as infidelity, I can help you deal with your feelings, clarify what you want, and make decisions about what you're going to do. No shame, no blame, no judgments. Infidelity situations can be exciting and exhilarating and amazing in so many ways, but they can also be stressful and confusing and overwhelming and otherwise unpleasant. So if you are ready to resolve your infidelity situation in a way that you feel great about, I can help you do it. And there are many ways to resolve an infidelity situation. If you want to work with me, there are 2 ways you can have me as your coach. We can work together one-on-one via Zoom, or you can enroll in my online course, You're Not the Only One, which contains powerful teachings and assignments that go beyond what I offer on the podcast. If you want to work with me one-on-one before the end of the year or in the early part of the new year, now is a great time to schedule an introductory coaching session with me, which you can do through my website, mariemurphyphd.com. And if you want instant access to my support and guidance, you can enroll in You're Not the Only One right now and start binge watching all the videos of me offering my unique blend of radical compassion and no-nonsense tough love. And of course, that online course is available through my website too. Okay, today we are going to talk about some of the ways that infidelity can be especially challenging during the holidays. Infidelity during the holidays is a topic that I've addressed in previous years around the December-ish time period. So if you are dealing with stuff that is related to the difficulties of infidelity during the holidays, I encourage you to take a deep dive into past episodes because there are at least several episodes I've done in the past on topics that fall under this umbrella. And I also want you to know that this episode today may be very relevant to you, even if you aren't celebrating any holidays at the moment, or even if you aren't experiencing any challenges in your infidelity situation that are related to the holidays at the moment. Because the point of today's episode is that when we're in a situation we don't like, our power lies in identifying what our options are and then making choices even when we don't necessarily like our options. Now, that may sound like a really obvious course of action, taking action, or I should say, making choices even when we don't like our options, that is. But although this could be an obvious course of action, there are times when people don't find this obvious at all. And in fact, what they end up doing is resisting this idea or this approach. Instead of making choices when they're in a situation they don't like, people often waste a lot of time and energy getting all worked up about not liking the situation they're in and not liking the choices they have. And the time and energy that you spend doing this is time and energy that you're not spending making the best of your situation or making your so-called bad situation better. Now, this is a totally human thing to do. I have done this many times myself, but we generally want to do less of this. When we're in a situation we don't like, we usually want to find a way out rather than finding ways to stay stuck in the situation that we dislike. So let's talk about what this can look like for people who are engaging in infidelity during the holidays. We're going to consider 2 examples today, and here's the first scenario we're going to consider. You are involved with someone who is married and has kids and has parents and has other family members who are going to be around for the holidays. Or let's specifically say Christmas. Christmas is coming up. Lots of people celebrate it. Let's use that as an example. Your affair partner is going to have a lot of family around for Christmas. Let's say that they'll have a house full of family, some of whom are coming in from out of town, starting a few days before Christmas until January 2nd. right? So they're going to be around for more than a week. They're going to be in your affair partner's house for more than a week. And you do not have a spouse. You are not involved with anyone other than your affair partner. And you don't have much family to speak of, and you don't have any family nearby. And although you have people who you consider friends, you don't currently have friends who you consider close friends. And since you've been involved in your affair, you have A, been investing more of your spare time into your affair partner than anyone else, and B, have kind of distanced yourself from the people in your life who you are friendly with because you have this secret thing going on and you don't really know how to navigate that with your friends. So you don't have any holiday plans to speak of. You have a work party to go to, and you wish you could take your affair partner to that event as your date. That's not happening, and you don't have any festive holiday plans going on other than that one work thing. And you are not happy about this because you happen to really love Christmas, and you really want to be able to spend Christmas with your affair partner. You want to wake up in the same house with them Christmas morning. You want to exchange gifts with them. You want to share your home with them and decorate your shared home together. You want to host holiday gatherings with them. You want to do all of the Christmas things with them. And you want all of that so badly. So badly. But that's not what's happening, at least not this year. What is happening this year is your affair partner has basically told you that the two of you will not be able to see each other at all from December 20th until January 3rd. And you are totally unhappy about this. You really don't like the idea of being alone for the holidays. And you are very displeased that your affair partner hasn't promised you to find a way to spend time with you, even though they're going to be contending with a house full of family members. You think that if they love you as much as they say they do, they should find a way to make you more of a priority during the holidays. But so far anyway, they've continued to tell you that they will not be able to find a way to see you during the aforementioned time frame. And so far, up to this point, what you've basically been doing is wallowing in unhappiness and attempting to show your affair partner how unhappy you are and dropping hints about how much you'd like it if they could find a way to sneak out and spend part of Christmas or at least Christmas Eve with you. This strategy, if that's what we want to call it, doesn't seem to be working yet. Your affair partner hasn't changed their plans, and you're still unhappy about that. But you just don't know what else to do about the situation. You know you don't like it, but you have no idea what to do about it. When we know we don't like something, but we don't know what to do about it, it's time for us to step up to the plate and consider our options. It's fine to start with, I don't know what to do about it, whatever the it is. But if we stay in I don't know for too long, we're just not going to get anything done and we're going to become more and more miserable, most likely. So stay with I don't know for a minute, fine, and then start to challenge yourself to think about what your options might be. One option here in this scenario is that you could keep on doing what you've been doing, which essentially is not liking the way things are, wishing things could be different, and hoping that things might change with very little, if any, effort on your part. We often choose this option without even realizing that this is what we're doing. So if you take nothing else away from today's podcast episode, I want you to recognize that if you're doing this or some close approximation of this, you really do have other choices. So what might those other choices be? Well, let's see. You could tell your affair partner how important it is to you that they find a way to spend some time with you on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. If this is really important to you, but you haven't ever explicitly communicated this to your affair partner, you might want to make a very direct request. It is not their responsibility to just know exactly what you want without you telling them. No matter how much the two of you love each other, that is not their responsibility. If you have told your affair partner that you want to see them on Christmas and they've said no, you could tell them that if they don't plan to figure out a way to spend time with you on Christmas, you will end your relationship with them. I don't necessarily recommend that you do this. It might feel good to throw a tantrum, but making this kind of declaration or issuing this kind of ultimatum might not get you all that much of what you want overall. But just for the sake of thinking broadly about what your options are, it's worth pointing out that this is something you could choose to do. And who knows, maybe your affair partner will be so scared of you leaving them that they do find a way to see you on Christmas, and maybe you'll be happy with that, at least temporarily. Not saying you should do this. I'm just pointing out that this is an option. Start to think about what your options are, even if some of the options you come up with initially aren't ones that you want to seriously consider. Now, let's say that you are not successful in getting your affair partner to change their plans. You ask them if they'll spend time with you on Christmas or Christmas Eve, but they say there's just no way that's going to happen. Even if you really don't like that, let's assume that you aren't interested in dramatically ending your relationship before Christmas because of this. Let's assume that you're choosing to stick with the relationship, at least for the time being, but you really don't like it that you definitively will not get to see your affair partner over Christmas. If this is your situation, what options do you have? One option is to consciously decide to mope around and feel sorry for yourself and feel resentful towards your affair partner. If you wanted to, you could fill your days by thinking about how alone you are and how surrounded by love and joy your affair partner is. And you could spend a lot of time and energy telling yourself how unfair life is. You could wallow in feeling really bad. If you're going to choose to do this, I encourage you to consciously recognize that you're choosing to do this. Consciously making the choice to wallow in our misery is so different from unconsciously believing that our circumstances have doomed us to suffer. So, moping through the holidays is one option. Another option is to acknowledge that you do, in fact, really dislike it, that your affair partner is not spending any Christmas time with you, and then decide whether you want to let that define your experience of the holidays or not. Here's the important thing, people. If we really don't like something, we may not feel 100% amazing within the context of the circumstances we dislike. If it's Christmas and you love Christmas and you just want to be with one particular human, but they aren't with you, and moreover, they're with their spouse and their family, it's okay to really not like that. But you can really not like that and not let that be a reason to be miserable all day or all week or for 10 days or 2 weeks or whatever. You can really not like that, and you can also decide that you have room in your heart and your head and your days for other experiences too. How can you spend Christmas in a way that you like, even if you don't get your first choice option of how you would like to spend Christmas? Even if what you really want is to spend some time with your affair partner, how might you be able to enjoy your time without them? You have the option to create a Christmas experience for yourself that is pretty awesome, even if it's your second choice version of awesome. This is an important point for all relationships, not just affair relationships and not just during the holidays. It's one thing to enjoy your person very much. It's one thing to love your special someone so much. It's one thing to want to spend your time with your person and want to share occasions that are deeply important to you with your person. But it's another thing to make your happiness dependent on your person or spending particular times with your person. When we're deeply in love with someone or deeply intoxicated by our relationship with someone, we may appreciate spending time with that particular person more than we appreciate anything else in our lives. And this can be a great experience in some respects. It can be pretty amazing to put all of our eggs in one basket and get totally swept away by the experience of connecting with someone. But even if having this kind of experience can be glorious at times or glorious in some ways, Placing all of our energies with our partner is unlikely to be a winning strategy for cultivating the kind of long-term happiness we probably want to have, both with our partner and with our life as a whole, or within our life as a whole. Even when we are madly in love with someone, making our happiness dependent upon being with that person all the time, or at particular times, or in particular ways, is not a great way to ensure our own happiness. Because no one can ever make us happy all the time. That's just not how it works. So you just might want to consider that not being able to spend Christmas with your affair partner presents you with a very interesting opportunity to take more responsibility for creating your own happiness. If you love Christmas, but you can't share Christmas with this one person you love, go find other ways of sharing your love for Christmas. And there are lots of options here. Maybe you have acquaintances who would love to include you in their Christmas gatherings if they knew you were available. Maybe you just need to let some folks know that you're looking for an invitation. Or maybe the time you won't be spending with your affair partner over the holidays is time you want to spend getting back into a cherished hobby that you've been neglecting for a while. Maybe you actually like the idea of a little time to yourself, to rediscover doing things on your own that you really enjoy doing, or just to simply be alone and not do anything. Or maybe you want to interact with other people and you truly don't know anyone in your area. What could you do if that were the case? Well, again, there are options. You might be interested in volunteering around the holidays. There are probably some people and organizations in your area that could use your help. Or maybe there are interesting ways of meeting up with people who are also going solo during the holidays. I haven't actually looked into that, but I'm willing to bet that if you Googled it, you would find all sorts of interesting opportunities for people who are on their own during the holidays, right? It's a big world out there. Lots of options these days. Now, I could go on and on with examples for what your options look like, but the key point here is that there are plenty of ways you could do cool stuff on holidays you aren't spending with your affair partner, either by yourself or with other folks. If you are willing to take responsibility for creating your own happiness, you may be amazed by what happens. For one thing, you may simply get to enjoy being happy. That's pretty great in and of itself. But in addition, you may find a lot of satisfaction in showing yourself that you aren't dependent on anyone but yourself to create the feelings you want to feel. Seeing that we can create happiness for ourselves is pretty awesome. I want to stress that taking responsibility for your own happiness does not mean that you don't get to feel sadness or anger or hurt or any number of other unpleasant feelings if you want to spend Christmas with your affair partner and that isn't happening. But you don't have to let the sadness and the hurt be the end of the story. You can if you want to, but if you do that, recognize that you are making a choice and you do have other options. I'll say two last things about this first example scenario. If you really want to spend the holidays with your affair partner and they're spending them with their spouse, and this has been happening for multiple holiday seasons now, it may be time to start asking yourself some tough questions about whether you want to stay in this affair relationship or not. If your affair partner is spending the holidays with their family is a pattern, and it's a pattern that you don't like, and it's one that's been going on for years, this could be the time to get ruthlessly honest with yourself about what you want the holidays next year to be like for you. But on the other hand, if this is the first holiday season in which you're dealing with this issue with your affair partner, you might not want to make it the thing that makes or breaks your relationship. No matter how much you love the holidays, or in this example, we're talking about Christmas specifically, no matter how much you love Christmas, and no matter how much you hate your affair partner's unavailability around Christmas, you might not want to make the fate of your relationship hinge upon that. Now, that's not to say that you can't break up with your affair partner because they can't see you on Christmas. Of course you can. But if you want to see where things go with your relationship, and this is the only thing or the main thing that's bothering you, you might want to focus on your opportunity to take responsibility for your own happiness during the holidays instead of making your affair partner's unavailability into a really huge, ginormous big deal. I know it may seem hard to develop the capacity for taking responsibility for your own happiness during the holidays, but I want you to consider that pressure makes diamonds. Sometimes we get to learn things the easy way, and sometimes we don't, but we still have the opportunity to learn if we want to. Okay, now let's look at the other side of this coin. This is example number 2. Let's talk about what you might be dealing with during the holidays if you are having an affair and you have a family and a spouse and lots of holiday plans and family coming to be in your house during the holidays, and you have an affair partner who does not have a partner or much family or many holiday plans to speak of. And your affair partner loves Christmas and really wants to be able to spend Christmas with you. And guess what? Your spouse also loves Christmas, and your family also loves Christmas. And everybody expects you to be very present and very engaged for all of the holiday festivities that are planned. So, where does that leave you? Well, possibly caught between a rock and a pretty hard place. If your family expects you to play house in all the ways that people sometimes play house during the holidays, and your affair partner really wants you to be available to them during Christmas, the holidays might be your idea of hell. Now, as you may already be very well aware, dealing with these kinds of situations is one of the many reasons that a lot of people decide that engaging in infidelity kind of sucks. And if you don't like juggling family obligations with an affair during the holidays, one of the first things I suggest is to seriously consider the possibility that it's time for you to make some decisions and resolve your infidelity situation in a decisive manner. In a way that you like, of course, but in a decisive manner. Now, if you don't want to do that during the holidays, that's fair enough. But if you're dealing with all of the gnarliness that can come with trying to keep your affair partner happy and trying to keep up appearances with your family during the holidays, and you don't like that, you may want to prioritize making some choices and some changes relating to your infidelity situation as soon as the new year rolls around. But what do you do in the meantime? How do you just get through it all while it's happening? What I often hear people who are in this position complaining about is that they aren't going to be able to make everybody happy. If they do everything their spouse wants them to do during the holidays, their affair partner won't be happy with them. But if they do what their affair partner wants them to do, their spouse won't be happy with them, and their spouse might possibly become very suspicious about their behavior. And to the person who's in this position, the person who has the spouse and the affair partner, this often seems like a really bad deal. It seems really likely that no matter what they do, somebody's going to be mad at them. And that seems really unfair and really difficult to deal with. If you are in this kind of situation, the first thing I want you to consider is that you might be absolutely right about not being able to make everybody happy. There are plenty of times in life when we just can't make all the people happy. And you may not be able to make it through the holidays without someone who is important to you getting very upset with you. Sometimes this is just the way it is, or at least is quite likely to be the way that things turn out. But instead of accepting this fate and working with this reality or likely reality, we instead spend a lot of time wishing that we didn't have to deal with this, or wishing that this didn't have to be the way it was, or wishing that this wasn't our fate. So the second thing I want you to consider is, if this is your non-negotiable reality, you get to decide what you're going to do about it. Like I just said, what a lot of people do is remain paralyzed by their dislike of the situation. And this is echoing what I said earlier, of course. And it's an option to remain paralyzed by your dislike of your situation. But the problem is, a lot of people don't consciously choose to avail themselves of this option. They just unconsciously stay stuck because they think that not being able to make everybody happy is a terrible problem. And since they can't solve for that problem, they think they're screwed and they just wring their hands and wish things were otherwise. Now, again, you can always choose that option if you want to. And if you do, I encourage you to choose it consciously. But what I want to say is that I don't think there's actually anything to be gained from thinking that not being able to make everybody happy is a problem. If you think that not being able to make everybody happy is a problem, or all of the important people in your life happy, I encourage you to question that belief. But whether you choose to think of not being able to make everybody happy as a problem or not, what are your options? Well, if the risk of being repetitive, one option is to feel sorry for yourself because poor you can't make everybody happy and that's really bad and your life is hard and that's just the end of it. If you choose that option consciously, you will suffer less than if you choose that option unconsciously. But you have other options too. So what do those look like? Well, it just might be within your power to come up with a fairly plausible excuse to escape the family holiday stuff for a little while at least and spend some time with your affair partner, perhaps even on Christmas Eve or Christmas Day, even if those are days when your family expects you to be around and doing traditional holiday stuff with them. And perhaps more importantly, if you are serious about pursuing a non-affair relationship with your affair partner, and your affair partner really wants you to spend some time with them on Christmas, you might want to do this for your affair partner if you reasonably can, even if your spouse isn't thrilled with you ditching out on some family time on Christmas. If you're seriously considering divorcing your spouse, you're probably going to have to deal with them not being thrilled with you at many points in the future. You could bite the bullet and just start dealing with that right now. Now, I'm not saying that this is the obvious answer for anyone in this situation. I'm just saying it is an option that's on the table. Will it be uncomfortable to deal with your spouse being less than thrilled with you? Yes, quite possibly. But it's still an option. Now, on the other hand, if you simply cannot imagine a way to extricate yourself from your family's holiday madness, you might want to sit your affair partner down and say something like, listen, I just do not want to rock the boat with my family during the holidays. I know you really want me to find a way to see you on Christmas, but I am just not willing to deal with the stress that would come with that. You can own your decision and you can communicate your decision to your affair partner and you can empathize with their dislike of your decision and whatever feelings they have, and you can deal with them being upset with you. If you really don't think that you can deal with the stress of finding a way to see your affair partner on Christmas, the implication may be that you'd rather deal with disappointing your affair partner than disappointing your family, right? Okay, if that's the case. But owning that decision can make a big difference, both in terms of your suffering and in terms of how you communicate with your affair partner, which in turn may have a big impact on their experience of the holidays. Now, when I'm talking to a client and I suggest options like these, the client will often say, but no matter what I choose to do in this situation, there are going to be significant drawbacks. And yeah, that might be true for you. But there simply may not be an option on the table that does not come with drawbacks. That's just the way it is sometimes. It's really important to remember that not liking our options or thinking that any choice we make will be uncomfortable doesn't mean that we don't have any choice at all. Sometimes the only choice we have is between discomfort version A or discomfort version B, or perhaps discomfort version A, B, C, D, or E, right? Instead of saying, well, I don't like this, or that's not fair, and stopping there, we can dislike our choices and make a choice anyway. And when we do that, we can then start to better our circumstances bit by bit by bit. And that's how we can efficiently and effectively take responsibility for governing our own lives. So, in terms of actually seeing your affair partner or not during the holidays, if you have a spouse and a family and everybody wants you to be with them as much as possible, You get to choose. Might it be awkward or worse to leave your family on Christmas Day, even if you can come up with a pretty good reason to do so? Sure, it might. Might it feel really shitty to not see your affair partner on Christmas when you know they miss you and really want to see you? Yes, probably. Whatever you decide to do probably will not be comfortable. So if there isn't a comfortable option, what are you going to do? What some people do is say, well, I'm going to choose the least uncomfortable option. If whatever I choose is going to be uncomfortable, I'm at least going to minimize the discomfort that I have to deal with. And I think that's a totally fair choice to make if you make the choice consciously. A lot of us make that kind of decision totally unconsciously, and we may not like the results of that very much. Because when our goal is to avoid or minimize discomfort, we usually run into trouble sooner or later. And by trouble, I just mean that we usually end up creating a lot of situations for ourselves that we really don't like. If we want to live a life that we're excited about or even moderately satisfied with, we are going to have to contend with discomfort. So there's a lot to be said for being willing to take it on intentionally rather than trying to avoid it as much as possible. But it's also true that it is totally human to choose the less uncomfortable option simply because it is the less uncomfortable option, right? The question that I want you to consider is, if you're kind of like in the thick of this and you're like, oh God, I really don't want to do the more uncomfortable thing. I just want to be less uncomfortable during the holidays, but I don't know if I like the idea of the consequences of my choice. Here's what I want you to consider. What are the medium and longer term consequences of your decisions about the holidays? For example, if you're effectively trying to decide between the discomfort associated with letting your affair partner down on Christmas or displeasing your spouse on Christmas, the question may be, which relationship do you want to be in 6 months from now? Which relationship do you want to invest in? What is the future you are trying to create? And what can you do now that will help contribute to building that future that you want to see? Generally speaking, it's more worth it to tolerate discomfort when we're moving towards our goals or working towards creating our desired outcomes. Now, if you don't know what you want in terms of your relationships, that's fair enough. If you don't know what relationship you want to be in 6 months from now, that's okay. If that's the case, the best you may be able to do is muddle through the holidays one moment at a time. But if you really don't know what you want with your marriage and with your affair, you might want to start figuring that out. Survive the holidays by all means. Get through it by any means necessary if that's what you need to do. But you may want to make sorting out your love life your top priority for the new year. Okay, people, as I start to wrap up for today, I want to emphasize a few things. Again, sometimes we think that because we don't like a situation we are in, we don't have any choices, but we do. If nothing else, we always get to choose what we think about any situation we find ourselves in. But often, we also get to choose the actions we take in response to whatever circumstances we're dealing with. Even when we know we have a choice, sometimes we may not like our options, and that's fair enough. But the question is, what are you going to do about it? Are you going to let not liking your options be your stopping point? Are you going to sit around wishing that your options were different when they really just aren't? Or can you allow yourself to not like your options and also make decisions that will enable you to make your situation incrementally better? It might not sound sexy or fun, but it really should. But when we start to take responsibility for what we actually have the power to control, life starts to get so much simpler and so much better. And you have the power to create happiness for yourself during the holidays, no matter what your affair partner does or doesn't do. And you have the power to examine your options when you're in a situation you don't like and make choices with the options you have for reasons that you feel good about. And the crazy, but also not so crazy thing is, when you start doing this, you start to feel better really quickly. So what are you waiting for? If you want my help identifying the options you have within your infidelity situation and making choices that will enable you to make your situation better, I am here for you and ready to help you get to work. If you want to work with me one-on-one, go to my website and schedule an introductory coaching session with me. If you want to meet with me before the year is over or in the beginning of the new year, I encourage you to get that appointment scheduled today. And if you want my immediate assistance delivered to you through the interwebs in the form of videos of me teaching you stuff that goes beyond what I offer on the podcast, enroll in You're Not the Only One. With just a few mouse clicks or screen taps, you'll have access to my teachings and assignments that will help you deal with infidelity-related holiday angst in a totally different way. To get started with either of these things, one-on-one coaching or course enrollment, go to my website, mariemurphyphd.com. All right, everybody. It's been a pleasure. I'm sending my love and support from afar. Bye for now.
Thanks for listening to Your Secret is Safe with Me with Dr. Marie Murphy. Make sure to click subscribe to get updates on our latest episodes.